As I mentioned, Congressman Lipinski and I introduced a cybersecurity enhancement bill last Congress that passed overwhelmingly. We plan to reintroduce that as early as next week. But we wanted to have the benefit of your testimony on this bill. I know you've had an opportunity to review the legislation. And if I could go, there are basically four major points to the legislation that I wanted to cover. And the first is it has to deal with Dr. Strawn and Dr. Furlani, the NIST standards, giving NIST the authority to set security standards for federal networks. Can you give me your comments in terms of whether that's helpful to the federal government? Dr. Strawn?
I think the fact that NIST has been involved with setting standards for us for the last decade, in my direct experience as CIO, has been very helpful. And so any additional responsibilities that NIST might take, such as identified in the proposed legislation, I think would be helpful.
Okay. Dr. Furlani?
We've been working in that space for some time, particularly thinking about the security aspects of domain name security, and working to deploy that in the .gov and .com domains, and so I think it's a reasonable fit.
Yeah, the next area establishes a federal university private sector task force to coordinate research and development, and also authorizes, I think, much needed cybersecurity research and development programs. I think Dr. Jahanian, you may be best qualified to speak to that provision.
Yes, I think it's very important, and it's been already highlighted by others, that we need to involve the private sector as we think about addressing the issues that confront a country. Cybersecurity challenges that impact our economic security, national security, and of course public safety. So as I indicated already in my testimony, National Science Foundation and other agencies actively involve the private sector in how we approach cybersecurity. In our research program, as I mentioned, our merit review program, in the workshops we run, SBIR, STTR. So expanding that and bringing the private sector and academics together, I think it serves the country well.
Well, thank you for that. And lastly, there's been a lot of talk about a cybersecurity workforce, professionals. The bill creates scholarship programs, both undergraduate and graduate at the NSF, and that is to be repaid with federal service. So I think that question actually could go to both Dr. Jahanian and to Mr. Brown in terms of DHS having a cyber federal workforce. Dr. Jahanian?
Yes, the question was, as I indicated in answer to a previous question, I believe the issue of workforce development, education and curriculum development and capacity building is extremely important. It has to be at the center of our response to cybersecurity challenges. So this is very much aligned with the needs of the country.
Admiral Brown?
Sir, I think scholarship for service is extremely important. It's been great for us in the public sector. From DHS perspective, we have teamed extremely well with NSF on that, and we have reaped some of the benefits. Some senior leaders have been graduates of that program, as well as some of our phenomenal analysts. So it's a great program.
So I take that from the witness's testimony that you're all supportive of this legislation. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You don't have to all yell at once. One last question, and this has to do probably more when I was ranking member on the Cybersecurity Subcommittee on Homeland Security, Admiral Brown. The Cyber Command is standing up at Fort Meade. In my home state, we have Lackland Air Force Base, which, as you know, conducts cyber operations, the more offensive operations. And the coordination between DHS and I think the DOD and NSA, to me, is very important in terms of the left hand knowing what the right hand's doing in the government. It seems to me you can't fully protect and defend the nation as DHS is charged with their mission if you're not coordinating with those who know the offensive capability the best. Has that enhanced over the years, and can you tell me, to the extent you can in an open setting, what your relationship is now with the Air Force?
Sir, the basic premise of your question, the answer is you've just described my job description. As the cybersecurity coordinator for DHS, my responsibility is to work with both NSA and with U.S. Cyber Command so that we are synchronizing, we are, from both the DoD and DHS perspective, aware of our operations, that we're capable of working together. And for U.S. Cyber Command, that means working with its components like the 24th Air Force. So that's part of my job, is to make sure that I'm providing that situational awareness to DHS so that we're prepared when we're looking at protecting the .gov and working with the private sector and the .com, and vice versa, to be able to provide that information, to be able to work with NSA and with the U.S. Cyber Command as they're executing their missions and responsibilities.
That's excellent news, because 5 years ago when we held hearings on the issue, that was not the case. There wasn't that kind of coordination. So I commend you for taking the lead on that, and I think that's going to make the country a lot safer.